Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter number 19. And where did we leave? I think start from 24, right? So beginning from verse number 24, it's continuation of story of King Yayati, who renounced his kingdom and installed his younger son Puru in his place and put his other sons under him, and he went to forest. So he says, Asevitam Varsapugan Shadvargam Vishye Susa Kshanena Mumuche Nidam Jatapakshay Vadvijaha. He has enjoyed the Shadvarga for thousands of years, but he left everything just in a moment. Just like when the small birds, they are hatched, and then afterwards when they get the wings, they fly away from the nest. So it is difficult to give up if you are stuck for a long time. But he says that he just flew away and did not look back. Because these birds, when they are small, they are just fixed. They are in quarantine. Right? They don't move at all. They get all their supplies at the door. But as soon as they get the wings, they fly away. They never come back after that. So like that, he says that Kshanena Mumuche Nidam. He says just in a moment he decided that this is enough, and he went away. So Sri Vishnu Chakrita says, Varshpugani Vyapya Vishesu Asamyak Sevitam Ashaktir Yasya. So for many years he was absorbed in the sense objects. He was Ashakti. Tatha Bhutam api Shandindriya Vargam Kshanena Mumuche. So all this he left in a moment, the objects of his six senses. So upakshate indriyadhino na babhuva, meaning is that he was no more under the control of the senses. Nidam mumuche nidadhino yatha na bhavati ityartha. Just as the birds, when they fly away after they get the wings, they are no more under the control of their nest. So like that. Satatra nirmukta samasta sangha atmanubhutya vidhuta trilingaha pare male brahmani vasudeve lebhe gatim bhagavatim pratitaha. So he became completely free from the attachment to the sense objects. And this is because he has realized Atmanubhuti. His own Atmanubhuti can mean his own personal experience or experience of his Atma or experience of Paramatma. Can have different meanings. And therefore he says that Vidhuta Trilinga. So Trilinga can mean the three gunas, it can also mean the subtle body. So he became free from that, and then he attained Bhagavati Gati. Pratita means well known, means he attained Sarupya Mukti, Brahmani Vasudeve Amale, in Brahman, Bhagavan, who is the pure one. So Vidhutam Trigunatmakam Lingam Yena. He has given up his body, which is composed of the three gunas. So Bhagavati Bhagavad Dhamni. So Bhagavati Gati means he attained the abode of Bhagavan. Salokya Mukti. Premvat Parshadattvam. And he became Parshad, associate of Bhagavan. Pratita Khyata is, which is well known. So this is quite amazing, such a change in one lifespan, right? How many changes he had? He was young, he became old, then he became young again, and then he became old again, right? So generally you are young and then you become old, then you don't become young again. So he became young and then again old, and then he gave up all that and he attained Bhagavan in one life. That's quite an achievement. So Shrutva, what happened to Devyani now? So he flew away, then Devyani also followed him. So this is another amazing thing. Shrutva gatham Devyani mene prasthobhamatmanah stri punsho sneha vaikallavyat parihasam iva iritam. So when Devyani heard the story of the goat, so what did she think of it? Prasthobhamatmanah. So she thought that he is being sarcastic. Because it was too obvious. Goat falling into the well, another goat coming, getting her out, then this female goat getting upset. It's very clear what she is saying. Does not take much intelligence. So therefore she thought that this fellow is being very sarcastic. Because she is thinking that he is suffering because of me. I am causing him trouble. So, Stri Punsho Sneha Vaiklavyat Parihasamiva Iritam. And because of the Vaiklavya, or this, what will you say, incongruency between the relationship between man and woman when there is a separation. So he thought that he has said this just in a joking manner. That's one meaning, but the another meaning is that she took this sarcasm as a indication of getting out of this well of the material life. So now it is as if King Yayati was really pulling her out from another well of the material world. So therefore this is how she took it. Mene prastobhamatmana. So she also took this as inspiration to get out of the material world. Because she understood that if he is thinking like this, I am also part of it. So why should I think that I am not involved in it? We are both fallen into this material well. So Gatham Chhagetihasam, the story here means the story of the goat. Atmana swasya prastobham upalambhanam eva. So she thought of this as a sarcastic remark on herself. But he says, Vastuto mene, in reality she thought, Sneha Vaikalavyadeva hito. But he says because of the incongruency or breakup between the Sneha, Stripunsyo parihastulya muktam tena. So it is as if Sneha Vakalavyat can mean that there was a break in their affection. So it is understood that the king is leaving her. So now she is thinking that now he doesn't love me anymore, and therefore he is going away. So I should also understand that this is how life is. This is how the material love is, right? All this time she was thinking that he loves her and he is under her control. That's what he was saying, this Kridamraga, like a plaything in her hands. But now she understood that it's not true, and she realized that this love relation is over. So she also took instruction from this. So that is another meaning, that Vaklav Sneha Vaklavyat Parihasam eva iritam, is not that he is just making a joke out of it to instruct me, that get out of this well. I got you out of this well before, right? And now I want you to get out of this well of material sense pleasure. So she understood that. So therefore it says, Tena he devyani maya yat tvam kripaya paniya kupad udhrita bhu tat parishodhanam tvaya samyak kritam yadaham etavantam kalam vishya madandha kupe nipatita iti matpatir yayati mam avochadat iti devyani janati smaiti. So what is the sarcasm? The sarcasm is that, look Devyani, you were in the well and I got you out of the well, right? I uplifted you. So now you have paid me well by putting me into the well of the sense enjoyment. He says, this is your paying the debt. This is the joke, that I got you out of the well, so as an act of gratefulness you threw me into the well. So in this way you paid me well. So this is the joke. So she took it like that, and this is what he is trying to tell me. Otherwise, why he is telling this story? So I have been thrown into this Vishaya Madandha Kupe, that this blind well of intoxication caused by the sense objects. So sense objects also make one intoxicated, right? Because when one is intoxicated, one does not see the things clearly. Your vision gets impaired, your thought process, your intelligence doesn't think clearly. So when one becomes attached to sense object, then also one does not see the reality. Things look different. When you become attached to something, then everything looks good about that. If you are attached to some person, then if that person does something nice, then you consider that as his good quality. If that person does something wrong, then you say, well, this is because of some circumstance. He was under stress. That's why he got angry, otherwise he doesn't get angry, right? Or it is because people have made him act like that. So any bad thing is not part of his nature, any good thing is part of his nature. This is how you think when you are attached to something. And when you are against somebody, if that person does something good, then you say, he is just making a show. He's not a devotee, he's not renounced, he's just trying to impress people, right? And if he does something wrong, he says, of course we know. This is how he is. So this is the meaning of Vishaya Madandhakupa. That how the Vishayas, they throw you in the Andhakupa. Like you fall into a well, your vision becomes very limited. You can only see inside the well and maybe a little bit up. But rest of the world is not available to you. So that's how the Vishayas, they condition you. And then you think only in that limited range. All your decisions are made by that thinking process. So this is how Yayati was also operating like that. But now he is out of the well. So therefore he told the story. Then this is what happened. So Vishya Madandhakupe Nipatita iti matpatir yayati mam avochat. So this is what Devyani was thinking, that this is the prastobha. This is the sarcasm in his story. So then she also understood that I should also leave this material life and not remain, because if he is calling this as Kupa, well, then why should I stay in it? So that was her good thinking. So what did she did? Sa sannivasam sruhidam prapayamiva gacchatam vigyaya Ishwar tantranam maya virachitam prabhu. So she understood that this residence which I have with my relatives or near and dear ones is just like when you go to a prapa. So in olden days in India, even here in Vrindavan, there used to be many places in the summer time where people used to sit and give water free to drink. There will be small hole and one guy is sitting behind with this big copper lota, and anyone comes and he just gives water and you can drink and go. So that is called prapa. Or prapa can also mean a bar where you go and drink, because pa simply means to drink. So people go and gather there, because if this kind of prapa, you don't stay there. You drink water, you move, but bar you go and you sit there and drink. Right? So I said, just like you go to a bar and then you meet some people and you become friends. Right? So they become your bar friend. And then after some time you go home and you leave them. And you may not again meet them. It is not necessary. So that's what he says, that sa sannivasam sruhidam prapayamiva gacchatam. He says that this friendship or this living together, it is just like you go to a bar and then meet somebody, a bar, restaurant, anything like that. So Vigyaya Ishwar Tantranam Maya Virachitam. So this is all controlled by Ishvara, and it is part of his Maya. So we should not be very much attached to this. Not that you start crying for this. It's like a dream. It says in the next one, Sarvatra Sangam Utsvijya Swapnopamyena Bhargavi Krishna Mane Samavesha Vedhanot Lingam Atman. So she considered this just like a dream. So like in the dream you meet people, you may live with them, and then you wake up and then there's nobody. So it says just like the dream created by Maya. It's like when you are in tamas, you dream, or rajas, your buddhi goes into rajas, you dream. Then you come out, and then everything is over. So like that it says this is Prabho Maya Virachitam. That this is all creation of Prabhu's Maya. And we should not be attached to it. So this is thinking like this. What did she do? Bhargavi. So she is called here Bhargavi, means she is born in a dynasty of sage Bhrigu. So that shows her high birth, and therefore she has good character. So she fixed her mind on Krishna. Krishna manah samaveshe vedhinot lingam atmana. So she became free from her attachment to the material body, gross body. So as it was said, vidhuta trilinga. Similarly for her it is said, vedhanot lingam atmana. And then this is the final verse of this chapter. Namastubhyam bhagavate vasudevaya vedhase sarvabhutadhivasaya shantaya brihite namaha. So obeisances to you, O Bhagavan Vasudeva, the creator and the residence of all living beings, the one who is peaceful and the great. To him we bow down. So she also attained Bhagavati. So she did not leave Yayati. She also went behind him. True wife. So it is Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramhansyam Samhitayam Namaskandhe Ekonvinshadhyaya. This is the end of chapter 19, 9th canto. Now there is a little comment by Sri Vishwanath here. Kena sadhanena Krishnae mana aveshitam iti chet namaskar dhyan kirtanadi bhiritya. So if one asks the question, how did she fix her mind on Krishna? So he is trying to make a relationship of this final verse with the previous thing. How suddenly this verse comes. Nama stubhyam bhagavate vasudevaya vedase. So he says this is answering if someone has a doubt that how did she fix her mind on Krishna. So she was chanting this prayer or doing kirtan. That is the meaning. So Namaskar Dhyan Kirtanadivi. She was bowing down to Krishna, she was meditating and she was doing kirtan. Now he makes a little extra comment here. And this comment is related to what Vilas was asking yesterday, that here all the time he was ruling over the earth planet and this and that. So he says, Atra yada Ambarishah saptadvipadhipati chakravarti bhabhuva tadaiva yati stan mandaladhyaksha prayo jambudvipa bhupatiriti avasiyate. Says that it should be understood that because there is a story of Ambarish Maharaj which we already studied, right? Came earlier. So when Ambarish, and Ambarish is also described as Saptadvipati, that he was ruling over the Saptadvipapati, this earth, and he is also called like that. So he says, and the both were at the same time, according to his calculation. Yayati and Ambarish, they existed same time. So how is it that the both are to be described like that? So is it just to say that they ruled over some part of earth and that is just described like an alankar, right? Atishayokti alankar, very exaggerate. So he says, no, it is not like that. But when Ambarish Maharaj was ruling over the whole thing, then Yayati was also there, but Yayati was under him. So Yayati therefore is also described like. So Atriyada Ambrisha Swapta Dvipadhipatis Chakravarti Babhuva. So Ambarish was Chakravarti. Chakravarti means emperor. Tadeva Yayati Tan Mandaladhyaksha. So at that time Yayati was the Mandaladhyaks, means he was under Ambarish. So Prayo Jambu Dvipa Bhupatir Avashiyate. So at that time he was under control of Jambu Dvipa. So Ambarish was bigger than Jambu Dvipa. He was only Jambu Dvipa. Brahma Marichi Kashyap Vivashvat Shraddhadeva Nabhag Nabhaga Ambrisha. So he says the lineage of Ambarish is that from Brahma comes sage Marichi. Marichi's son is Kashyap, Kashyap's son is Vivasvat, Shraddhadev, then Nabhag, then Nabhag, and then Ambarish. So this is the lineage. And then about Yayati, we have Brahma, Atri, Chandra, the moon, then Buddha, then Pururava, then Ayu, and then Nahush. And his son is Yayati. So they are contemporary. Iti Brahmata Stayor Ashtam Purushatvat. So they are eighth person from Brahma. Counting from Brahma, they are the eighth in the line. Ateva Ambarisha Sangha Prabhavadev Tadrish Vishya Lampatasya Yates Tadrishi Bhaktir. So why he is making this comment? What is the relationship of this comment? Because he is trying to explain how is that Yayati became a devotee, although he was so much absorbed in sciences. So he says this is because of association with Ambarish. Because if Ambarish is like his boss and he is a devotee, then this is what influenced him. And Ambarish was a devotee, that is well known. He was not into sense pleasure. So he says it is because of the Ambarisha's association that Yayati became devotee. Because later on in Bhagavatam 11th canto, Krishna himself makes this point that bhakti comes only by satsanga. So sarva sango apahahimam, that this satsanga is that which takes away all other sangha. And namam sadhayati yogo na sankham dharma uddhava na swadhyasthapo tyaga yatha bhakti mamorjita. And satsanga here also, there are two verses similar type. One says bhakti, other says sangha. And then he says sangena hi daitaya yayudhana, etc. That which is only by sangha that daitaya, yayudhana, asuras, they all became devotees. Khaga, maga, nirga, animals, birds. So they all, and then he gives a list of these people. How they became devotees only by satsanga. So taking that as the clue, he wants to show that Yayati also became devotee only by sangha of a devotee and not otherwise. So this is an important principle of Bhagavatam, that bhakti comes only by Sangha and not by anything else. Bhaktya sanjatya bhaktya vibhrati utpal kamtanu. So smarata smarata mithagog haram harim bhaktya sanjatya bhaktya vibhrati utpal kamtanu. So bhakti comes only from bhakti, it does not come from anything else. And if bhakti comes from bhakti, then you have to get it from another bhakta who has it. So it is not something pre-existing in you. So that is the meaning. So for that he shows this. So, yatescha sangadeva devyanyasya. And then because of yati's association, devyani got it. So just like you have one lamp and from that you can light another one and then light another one. So like that. Kincha evam eva surya chandra vanshyor yugpat pravrittiyor yada सूर्य वंश्य सप्तद्वीपाधिपति चक्रवर्ती स्यात् तदा चंद्रवंश्यस्तद मंडलाध्यक्षो राजा यदा चंद्रवंश्य चक्रवर्ती तदा सूर्यवंश्यो राजा इति उभयवंशानां व्यवस्थया चक्रवर्तित्व राजत्व ज्ञेय. So now he gives a common principle. He says that in the descriptions many times you may find that sometimes the king from Sun dynasty is described as Chakravarti Samrat, means the supreme emperor, and then others are under him, and sometimes it is from the Moon dynasty who is called Chakravarti. So he says then it is to be understood that when somebody from the Sun dynasty is Chakravarti Samrat, supreme emperor, then the king from the Chandravansha, the Moon dynasty, will be Mandaladhyaksha, means will be under him. And when someone from the Moon dynasty becomes Chakravarti, because Chakravarti is according to one's qualification, it is not that Chakravarti's son is also going to be Chakravarti. So then the king from the Sun dynasty will be Mandaladhyaks, means will be under the other Chakravarti Samrat. So then there is no contradiction. Otherwise it looks like that it is said that he Chakravarti and the other one is also ruling, so how is it like that? So he says that this is how it should be understood. So this is the end of this canto 19. If there is any question on this.
To ask?
Hello? You hear me?
Yes.
This is Andrei. Haribo. So my question is, what is the part of Jiva responsibility for this tendency or propensity for senses gratification, and especially for lust, or how this responsibility is shared between the Atma and Paramatma or Maya?
Is it clear? What is the question? I sorry, I could not understand your question. There is some echo. Anybody understood what he said? Can you repeat your question, because nobody understand your question here? Some.
Yes. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, I will speak louder. So, regarding this chapter, I'm interested in the Jiva responsibility for this senses gratification. Is it shared between Jiva and Paramatma, or is it just a challenge of Maya to see how how Jiva will rid of this sense of lust, or it is only Jiva's responsibility for developing this sense gratification tendency.
Yeah, Paramatma is not involved in it. It is only Jiva's responsibility, because it is Jiva only who is under the law of karma, not Paramatma. Although Paramatma is also there with Jiva, but Paramatma is not implicated in the activities of. So this is said in Bhagavad Gita also, that na kassachit adatte papam. There is a sloka like that, that Krishna does not take the good or bad activities of the Jiva. So it is only Jiva's responsibility whether he wants to remain. He has the choice whether he wants to engage in Vishaya, sense gratification, or he wants to engage in service of Krishna. Paramatma is not involved in that. Paramatma is controller or regulator of Maya, but Paramatma is not telling Maya to put somebody into illusion and somebody to get out of it. It is our actions which do that.
Babaji, Babaji Maharaj, my question was that in many of these Bhagavatam, as we are reading, we are finding that one way of showing the king has become self-realized, or this thing, is that he leaves everything and goes to forest. And then this one, it was said that Maharaj Amrish was a Chakravarti smart and Yati was under one of the Mandan in charge, meaning one of the subordinates in his kingdom. So, and then Maharaj Amrish example, we see that he is not going to forest, but various other kings are going to forest. So, my question was, is Bhagavatam trying to show some demarcation, like some of the kings, which variety of kings are going to the forest, or which variety of kings are staying in the kingdom itself and being self-realized?
Yeah, so you have to see where you can do your. It's not a question of being in kingdom or being in forest, but where you can perform your devotion best. So if you cannot do it at your home, then you better leave that home. But if you can do it, so tavat kara griham yavad krishna tanne nate jana. So house is a prison only if one is not a devotee. If you have devotees in house, so in case of Ambarish Maharaj, he was devotee, his wife was devotee, everybody around him was devotees. So why should you go to forest and leave the devotee association? But that was not case of Yayati. So he finds it more conducive to not be there in the kingdom. So we have to see what is more suitable for a specific person. So not all kings, Yudhishthira Maharaj did not leave and go. He went only when Krishna left, otherwise he was also ruling. He was quite old. Could have left much earlier, but he did not do that. Krishna also did not go to forest. He was 125 years old. According to Varnashrama, he should have left when he was 75 and lived in the forest for 50 years. But he stayed at home. Okay, anything else?
Babaji, for most of us, it's difficult to get sadhu sangha.
Yes.
So, if you're not able to get direct sadhu sangha,
Then you listen to the Zoom
what is
class.
Okay.
Then Zoom is there. So now you cannot say it is difficult. Okay, Kamala.
Yes, it's about the attachment, because he was engaged for so many years in a deep sense enjoyment, no? And then what happened is that in one moment he could really leave everything, all this, the six senses, how they were engaged in that sense pleasure. He could just in one moment leave everything.
Yes.
So cutting this attachment just in 1 second. So this is something that is a very big thing, because generally when we have
Yeah.
attachment,
So it's both ways. Some people do it gradually, and some people snap it instantly. So this is being shown. So it is just also shows that it is possible.
It is possible.
And of course, when he left, it does not mean that one day he got up and he just left like that. He must have been thinking about it. Although in the story it is described like that. But it must have been also gradual for him. At least he must have been deliberating over it. And his wife must have been questioning him that these days you look a little indifferent. Do you still love me? Right? She must be asking this question to him. And I'm saying, no, there is nothing like this. Then one day, when she asked, then he started telling her the story. That's how the story came. Story of the goat. He didn't make a good story. Because I think he was caught off guard. So he just made up quickly. And then he says that this is the reason that I look indifferent. So he must have been thinking about it.
And another thing is about
Mike.
whoever we are meeting in our life is controlled by Ishvara.
Yeah, it's basically past karma. Ishvara is. Yeah. We have some what is called Rananubandhan. We have most relations here in the material world are because of the debt. It's like if you take loan from the bank, then you're related to that bank and bank is related to you. So wherever you go, the bank will try to trace you. Right? So there was a joke I read that there was a plane flying and then the engine failed and the plane was going over the sea somewhere, so that the pilot said that engines have failed, but I will try to land it safely on the water. So then he landed, and where they landed there was an island. So everybody came out, they are alive, but there is nobody there. There are no human beings living there. So this Indian guy was there, and this Indian fellow, he was asking his wife that, Preeti, did you pay for that car insurance installment? And he said, oh Ramesh, I forgot, please excuse me. And then he said that, what about the house loan installment, did you send the check? And he said, no, I did not. And then he said, what about the car loan, did you pay for that? He says, no. So then he gave her a very big hug. And she was surprised. He says, why? He said, the bank will find us. Now I don't have to worry. So the bank people will trace us. So the thing is that bank has a Rinanubandhan with you. It has got a relationship with you because of loan. So they will trace you. So like that, if you owe something to somebody from your past life, so that fellow will trace you in this life. He won't leave you. He may come as your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, your friend, your boss, but will come somewhere and extract it from you. And if somebody owes to you, then you will also trace that person. So that's how relations are made. So they are not just neutral things coming. And as I said, that most relations are that. You can also make new relations. But most relations where you have deep attraction, whether that attraction is positive or negative, right? Whether it is an attraction of love or attraction of hatred. Hatred is also a type of attraction. So that is because of the Rinanubandhan, that there is a debt to be paid whichever way. So that's how you trace. So that's how you go to the bar together and become friends. Okay, anything else? Otherwise we can start the next chapter. So, ath vinsho adhyaya. So, this is the 20th chapter. Sri Shuka Vacha. Sri Shuka said, Purorvansham pravakshami yatra jatosi bharata yatra rajarshayo vanshya brahma vanshasya jagire. So now Sukadeva Goswami says that, O king, I will now describe to you the dynasty of King Puru in which you are born. So Parikshit Maharaj was Pandava, but he is also Kaurava, right? And he is also Paurava, because before Kuru was a king, and before that was Puru. So Puru we already read. So Parikshit is coming in that lineage of Puru. Just as Krishna came in the line of Yadu, so he is coming in Puru. So that's what Duryodhana has remarked when Lakshmana was kidnapped by Samba, son of Krishna. Lakshmana is daughter of Duryodhana. So then Duryodhana became upset and they attacked Samba, they caught him and captured him. So then Balram came. Now Balram is his guru. But now he did not give respect to him. And he says, what is this Yadavas? We are Pauravas. He says, these people are not even kings. So this is what Purushottam Prabhu was mentioning, that how Yadu became king, because he, according to Mahabharata, he was cursed not to become a king. And therefore Yadavas did not become kings. So he says, you are not even qualified to be king and we are kings, so why I have to come and receive him? He can go and do whatever he likes to do. He was very proudly talking like this. That's when Balaram became angry and he says, I don't need somebody to install me as a king. Right? So, Nabhisheko na sanskaro singhasya kriyate dujai. Nobody installs a lion as the king in the forest by doing some abhishek. That okay, now we install you as the king of the forest. So he says, I don't need an abhishek that you have to install me. I am a king by my power. He says, I will show you. So he started pulling the whole city. Hastinapur, he says, I'll throw the damn thing inside the river. You are proud of this kingdom? I'll throw it away. So that's when Duryodhana came to his senses. Kauravas come in the Puru. Yeah, that's what he says. That's what he's saying. Purovans pravakshami yatra jatasi Bharata. That is Bharata, is also Bharat. King Bharat also came here, Dushyanta. So he's calling him as Bharata, but he's also Paurava. Comes in Puru dynasty. So he says, now I will explain to you Puru dynasty in which you are born, O Parikshit. And yatra rajarshayo vanshya brahma vanshya se jagire. So now this is a very interesting statement here in Bhagavatam and throws some light on history. He says that in this dynasty there were kings who were Rajarshi and some of them became Brahmarshi. Means there are two types of lineages which came from these kings. One was that they became Brahmanas. So in Bhagavatam there are few instances where kings become Brahmanas. So we also know that Rishabdev, he also had 100 sons. And 9 of them are Navyogendras. So they became Brahmanas. And others remained Kshatriyas. So here also we will see that some of them will become Brahmanas. And of course we know the story of Vishwamitra, but he did so much tapasya to become a Brahmana. But here it's not even that type of tapasya being done by them. They were just, by quality they were like that. So from this we understand that although these Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, these Varnas are by birth, but they were not so rigid that they are completely fixed. There was some fluidity, although it was not common. These are some exceptional examples. So now there is basically just a list of kings. There is nothing much commentary on this. So Vishwanath Chakravarti summarizes here. Puruvanse yatra dausyanter bhartasya kathanvitam shakuntalam upakhyanam vinshadhyayatra varnate. Says in this 20th chapter there is description of Puruvansha dynasty from King Puru, and especially there is a story of Dushyanta, King Dushyanta and his son Bharata, and the story of Sakuntala and Dushyanta. It's a famous story in India and described in much detail in Mahabharata. Dushyanta, Sakuntala. Kalidas wrote this famous play Abhigyan Sakuntalam, means recognition of Sakuntala, because the king refused to recognize her, although she was married to him. So it's one of the famous play by Kalidas. So Brahma Vansyasya Brahman Vansho Udbhutasya. So he says that there's this Brahman Vansha also. So then he says, just a list. Janmejayo bhutpuro prachin vans tat sutay sutay praviroth namasyurvai tasmat charu pado bhavat tasya sudyora bhutputres tasmat bahu gavastate sanyatis tasya hanyati raudrashavas tat sutah smrita ऋतयुस्तस्य कुक्षेयुस्तण्डुलेषु कृतयुक जलेयुश्च सन्ततेयुश्च धर्मसत्यव्रतेयवः दश ते अप्सरस पुत्रा वनेयुश्च उमेस्मृत घृताच्यामिन्द्रियाणि वै मुख्यस्य जगदात्मनः. So he says that Puru, his son's name was Janmeja. Janmeja's son's name was Prachinvan. Prachinvan's son's name was Pravira. Pravira's son was Namasyu. And Namasyu's son was Charupada. Charupada's son was Sudyu. And Sudyu's son was Bahugava. Bahugava's son was Sanyati. Sanyati's son was Ahanyati. Ahanyati's son was Rudrasha. And then he says that just as there are 10 senses from the Pradhan Prana, in the same way Rudrashava had 10 sons from Ghritachi Apsara, one famous Apsara, and their names were Riteyu, Kukshayu, Sthandilayu, Kriteyu, Jaleyu, Santateyu, Dharmeyu, Satyayu, Vrateyu and Vaneyu. So these are the names. And now he is going to describe the dynasty of Riteyu. So that we'll read tomorrow. Alright. Yes.
I have one more question regarding the class yesterday. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was commenting on this verse on, getting attracted to the gender of one's preference, and he said that only by what was it? By sadachar, one can pacify this attraction. And you mentioned one or two principles, and I was curious if you could maybe expand a little bit on this. So what I understood is that sadachar in this context means to not become too close, and that's physically, but also I guess emotionally. Sharing intimate thoughts and feelings or something like this. Maybe you could explain what exactly the sadachar means in the context of, for example, living in a community or, being at a workplace or this kind of settings.
Yeah, so sadachar is that, main sadachar is that this whole idea of varnashram system and that you marry only one person and remain fixed only on one and don't see others as the object of your enjoyment. Because the tendency, especially of the male mind, is to look at a woman and think that I can enjoy her. So if you do not have any sadachar, means you do not have this concept that somebody is my sister, somebody is my mother, somebody is my brother's wife. So the sadachar means that they are not for you to enjoy, they are not your object of enjoyment. You can have relationship only with your wife, not with any other woman. So this is when this is ingrained in the mind, then when you see somebody, then you don't think that, oh, I can enjoy this. Like what you see at present. So at present there is no such sadachar anywhere. So when you see, if you are a young man and you see a young girl, doesn't matter who that girl is. In fact, even if they are part of your own family, then the idea comes same. That's why there are so many relationships of incest now. Whether they come in light or they don't come in light, that's another thing. But it is going on very widely. Why? Because there is no sadachar. So our mind has never been restricted, or this idea has not been inculcated inside us from our childhood. So then we freely think, because mind thinks, oh, this is I can enjoy with her. So this is what you see. All these .coms, that's what they're doing. People are going and then they see and everybody, and wherever they go in the parties, there's nobody thinks that, well, this is wrong for me to think like this. Right? This idea of being wrong is gone. And the only problem may be that somebody has a girlfriend and they have to make sure that she doesn't know this. Right? Or my wife should not know this. But most people do not think that there is anything wrong if you cheat on your wife or girlfriend or other way around. Right? So you don't feel any commitment like that because there is no training for that. So that is the Sadachara. So all these rules which are made are to restrict your mind. Because when you are told this is wrong, then you start thinking. Then your mind at least thinks, oh, this is wrong to do that. But now when there is nothing like that, then wherever you look, it's all free for you. So then you all the time thinking of this person, thinking of that person, the mind is wandering. So that is what Sadachara is.
So therefore it's actually not, so what I understand is that the key doesn't seem to be to understand a certain set of rules, like not coming closer than this, but it's about really getting this concept in my buddhi that, okay, these persons, they are not the object of my enjoyment, and then I can also sit close to them and then there's no problem.
Yeah, that is the basic principle, but then these rules are made because mind is not easy to control. So, what is the statement that Ghrit Kumbh Samanari and Agni Kumbh Sama Puman, something sloka that man is, I think the man is like a pot of ghee and woman is like fire. Tasmat samsanarim sena ekatram sthapayet. So he says don't put them together because if a pot of ghee is put next to the fire it will melt. So I think Ghrit Kumbh Samanari, forget, but Tasmat Strim cha Purusham cha na ekatram sthapayet. Sloka like that. So that means that besides knowing the concept, but because mind is not always under control, so also have these restrictions. So some guidelines so that you don't get into trouble unnecessarily. Because even when you know, then your mind takes over the buddhi. Because Sadachara is in buddhi and mind is different from that.
But why is it then that here, for example, in this ashram, we don't seem to have so strict, gender separation and so on? Is it so that we learn and get constant training?
Because in this ashram there are no rules. This ashram is beyond rules. So I teach what is the principle, it's up to you how you apply it. Otherwise, I'll be just trying to impose rules here and trying to now regulate who is doing what. Where did Vilas go now? How come that he is bringing Malati on her back. So that's a different principle.
Babaji,
Anji.
so can we say Vivek is for the Jnanis basically and Sadachar is for Bhaktas?
No, Gyanis also have sadachar. They actually have more
They
sadachar.
do. Yeah, but they are much more strict in the sense, so therefore they are failing it there, while devotee is not thinking in that sense. He's observing Sadachar because he wants to please the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, the path is different, but sadachar they also have. Sadachar is for all, whether you are a yogi or you are a jnani or a karma yogi. Sadachar is for everybody. Therefore, Krishna says, "Yad yad acharti shrestha, tattadev itare jana." Sapramana. He is telling Arjuna that you will set a bad standard because you are a person who is seen as an ideal person in the society. So it is more incumbent on him to follow sadachar, to follow dharma, to follow the right action. Otherwise, other people will misunderstand it.
But here, Sarar Darshini, it is shown that Sadachar is kind of superior than the Vivek, because by Sadachar you can control your senses.
No, he is saying that if there is only vivek and no sadachar, then
Okay.
there is a problem, because vivek means you have to be 24 hours on it. But when sadachar is there, then that helps your vivek also. Otherwise you are doing viveka and you are never taught that keep distance, then what will happen? Now you go on struggling with your viveka. So sadachar also assists that. But if it is no vivek without sadachar, then it will be very difficult.
Can we also say this is another thing for Yayati, though he was absorbed in Visaya Sukha, but he was also worshipping the Lord. So his mind was worshipping the Lord, but he was conditioned for sense of judgment. So then it become easy for him in a moment to give up Visaya Sukha and take up the devotion fully.
Yeah, so I explained it earlier in one of the class that Ayati was not completely just gross materialist.
Yes.
He had the understanding and he was following principles. At the same time, he has desire to associate with his wife. He said it openly that I cannot just renounce like that. But he had that means he understood the principle and he was trying to get over it. And that's why he was able to. And he was also performing his devotional activity in the form of doing yajna or meditation, things like that. So then he came to a proper understanding and he got out of it.
So it was not all sudden, basically, as you explained. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he was preparing himself. You see, you have to understand that in olden days when people studied, you have to think of the old system in which Ayati was, which is difficult for us because we don't have an example of that society or system anymore in front of us. So when the child went to school, obviously Ayati has studied. Being a prince, he must have been trained in the Vedic knowledge. So you would go and study these things. You would live as a brahmachari in the Gurukula and you study that. And then you come to the Grihastha life. So that knowledge is there and they have ideals in their time. There are many sages and sannyasis, great renounced people must have existed for him. Because that is the whole culture. Just like now the whole culture is for sense pleasure. Wherever you go, that is the mantra. And whatever you do, that is the ultimate goal that you want to enjoy. So previously in the whole society, the mantra, even those people who were grihasthas, they understood this, that this is not the ultimate purpose. Because they were trained in it. Everybody was taught about dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Now nobody knows this. Now if you ask people what is the goal of life, either they will say, well, I don't know, or they will say, just to enjoy. So they had a systematic education about what is dharma, what is artha, what is kama, what is moksha. So this was taught to them.
Babaji, sometimes there's also the tendency to go to the other extreme whereby I've seen people behave almost as if the opposite sex, they're allergic to them. So how do you get this balance right? Because as you said, in order to perform seva, you've got to interact with people of the different people and obviously with people of the opposite sex.
So now where is it said that the opposite sex is cause of allergy? I mean, we have been reading. So these ideas come because of misunderstanding or wrong education. But it is not being said here like that. Even Yayati is not saying that. He is only saying that keep some distance. He is not saying that you hate them. He never said that. He is only warning that how this intimacy can lead one to a wrong action. That's what he is saying. But he did not say anywhere that you should hate them or don't look at them or they are the cause of your bondage or this or that. He did not say anything like that. He is only saying that even man of knowledge, his senses can be attracted. So he is just explaining how the sense object, especially in case of opposite sex, they can pull you away from your path. That's what he's saying. Because when you start hating like that, then that is, and I was just saying that this is another type of attraction. Because then also you have to think, you think of an object in two ways, either you love that or you hate it. So mind would not know, it will create samskara when you think positively or negatively. Okay.